Welcome back, folks. We're finally back. It's been a while, mostly because of the tax season mixed in with the Progetto M35, the Italian Challenge Marathon, in those 2 weeks. So, double the fun, double the deadline, double the time crunch. Did not finish the marathon, personally. Got to like 70%. Had to pay like $20, but $20 for a premium tier 8, not as bad as $70. So, yeah, that was hectic. But today we'll do some catch up on all the leaked vehicles for patch 1.0.2 on the Super Test server. So I'll put the timestamps to each individual vehicle in the description below. But today we'll cover the new tier 10 Russians, medium and heavy, after the Object 430 version number 2, after the T10. So they are interesting, at least. Then we'll talk about the Polish premium tier 8 heavy tank that everybody is going crazy about. It's basically a power creep over one of the best tier 8 heavies. Oh god, we'll talk about it, but this vehicle might break the Clan Wars selection because a lot of the players will use Defenders Object 252Us in Clan War matchups where the top tier is tier 8. This vehicle might be better than the Object 252U. That's ridiculous. Then we'll talk about the T-34E, which is the shielded version of a T-34. It's a bunch of applicant armor on a T-34. And then we have two fillers, which are basically quota tanks, like the Tiger 2H or the Yak Tiger H. So who knows? Or the KV-122. What a piece of crap. So we have the T-26E3, the pre-production model of the M26 Pershing, and then we have the Sherman Firefly 1C, which is excessive because Sherman Firefly or Sherman 1C is also called the Firefly, but small historical stuff. So timestamp in the description below, but let's get to the K91. So there are two versions of this vehicle, or at least three-ish of a version of the tank. One with the conventional layout with the turret in the middle, and the other version with the turret in the back. So one version has a elliptical hull shape, one has a square hull shape. So we're getting a hybrid of the square hull shape with the initial turret-esque of a tank. The initial version, the version number 1, is on Blitz as a tier 9 heavy tank. I think it's a premium as well, but yeah, it could be classified as a heavy, but for our version on the computer, on the PC version, it's a medium after the Object 430 version number 2. Rear mounted turret, yada yada, doesn't have the elliptical circular hull. It will be pretty broken if it did, like the Object 907, but better. That's scary. So it is a paper tank-esque of a vehicle, but it did actually exist. So here are the in-game models. You probably already saw these because most of the time the forum post for the staffs actually update you on the vehicles that are coming out. So that's good for wargaming because last year they started doing this, whereas the years before they didn't. So they relied on me or other blogs to tell you guys about it. But now they actually post stuff. So here is the picture, but rear mounted turret on a pseudo-large vehicle hull for a medium, but yeah, it was classified as a heavy in the Blitz version, so could be classified as a heavy, but looks kinda big. Not that much, but there shouldn't be any space armor for the sides, like the actual Russian heavies, so don't expect to side scrape. It has 140mm of hull front armor and 220, but there is obvious weak spots, like that's the loader cupola, that is the commander cupola, because of periscopes. But it's, I mean, following the Object 416 and following the 430 version number 2, yeah, same playstyle, camp mostly, but what's special about the 430 version number 2 is the turret on that thing is very strong, and you can actually go a little bit more aggressive than the 416, whereas the 416 is more of a sniper-ish of a medium. So this should be a little bit more like the 416. You snipe with it, rather than being a little bit more aggressive, like the 430 version number 2. But here are the initial stats posted by the Wargaming staff. But here are the actual stats of this tank. So what's interesting about the actual stats is it has pretty good accuracy, pretty fast aim time. Dispersion is not that bad. Has 5 degrees of gun depression. Traverse is pretty quick. DPM is not great, but it does have the penetration. So penetration is above average. And shell velocity is very fast, so that's good. View range is 10 more meters than the actual other Russian mediums. And does have pretty good camo. 31.5%. That is better than the Batchat. That's about the same as the AMX 13105. So the downside is the mobility sucks. 11.11 horsepower per ton ratio. That is terrible. That's worse than the Panther II. And it has worse terrain resistance than the Panther II. Health is about the same as the Batchat. That's actually the same as the Batchat. So this vehicle is mostly a hybrid of a medium tank / tank destroyer. But in the current meta, in the current cramped corridor maps, do not expect to snipe as much as you would be aggressively brawling in a medium. So sniping is not the flavor of the meta right now. So here is the T62A. As you can see, it has better accuracy, better aim time than the T62A, but doesn't have the DPM. Does have better camo though, and better view range. Doesn't have the mobility. So 11.11, that's garbage. Along with this terrain resistance, yeah, that's not great. So does move relatively fast in a straight line, but it has to rev up, and I doubt it with that engine power. So 500 horsepower for the engine. Oh, that's kind of bad, but take a look at the Batchat. So here is the Batchat. The Batchat has 29.6% camouflage bonus, like reducing enemy view range, whereas this thing has 31. So it has better camouflage rating than the Batchat, and better moving camouflage as well. So it is similar to the 13105, which is a light tank. Yeah, it has about the same about the same camo as the light tank, but better view range. Not as fast mobility, obviously, but is it worth it for this vehicle to get it after the 430 version number 2? Well, like I said, sniping is not the meta. All corridor maps, all freaking cramped into one section where you need actual armor and brawling DPM and other stuff. So it could be pretty decent if it was all the open field maps like Prokhorovka, Madanovka all the time, but yeah. Well, you do have the regular 330mm gold shell, but this shell is actually pretty good considering it's 276 for a 100mm. That's not bad, but the downside is DPM is actually average. Compared to the 3000 DPM, yeah, you won't be cranking out as much shots, but hey, this thing actually weighs more than the T62A, I believe. So T62A. Yeah, T62A, 37 tons. This is 45, so yeah, it's more of a heavy-ish of a medium, but alright. So not that excited, but what I'm really excited is the vehicle after the T10, the Object 277. So it is a hybrid of developing a vehicle with elliptical frontal hull, and after the T10 development, so they were working on a assault heavy tank, aggro heavy tank. So this vehicle has armor, has 130mm, is just as fast, should be faster than the IS-7 on paper or in reality, but in the game, Wargaming buffed the IS-7 mobility because of the balancing thing. So currently, it's about the same mobility, but as you can see, it is Russian, So like the T10, they built a larger turret to house the 130mm. So the hull shape is like the T10, but they put an elliptical hull front similar to the Object 907. So it's a little bit bouncier, but it is Russian. Key definition of Russian tank: cramped, large gun, yeah, pike-shaped nose or rounded frontal hull. But here is the descendants after the 277. So as you can see, they've gone with even more of a rounded hull front for the Object 278. So this could be in the game as a special tier 10 for Clan Wars, who knows, but it's even more rounded than the 277. So it's only a paper tank. They never actually developed it. So coming from this vehicle, they thought we would like more of an elliptical hull, and that's why there's a 279 that you could have saw the special documentary of this vehicle. So yeah, these are the descendants of the 277, and later they came up with the 770. So this is the prime example of all Russian engineering of a heavy tank into one. So they put thoughts of the 277 into this vehicle, as well as the T10, so large ass gun, rounded hull front, all the good stuff. So I thought it was this vehicle replacing being the vehicle after the T10, but well, we could also have this vehicle as well. Crazy. So, but here are the in-game model of this tank. So what is surprising is the elliptical hull front. So it is rounded slightly. It's not as like pike-shaped nosed of a hull front like the WZ-111-5A. So it could bounce a few more shots. So it's like the egg-shaped Patton's hull. So sometimes you have a bad angle, it bounces. And it has less cupola than the WZ-111-5A. There's also a periscope in front of the commander cupola. So, like the T-62A, the periscope might eat the shot, and you just get a damaged periscope. But here is the lower plate. So you also have might be a space armor plate covering the tracks support, the road wheel support. So this might be space armor to even help the lower plate, but it is rounded, similar to the Americans a little bit. And upper plate is slightly rounded, so it's a base model. There's no HD model yet, but yeah, the only weak spot I could see is the commander cupola. It is elevated, but there is a periscope in front of it. So it could be like the T-62A. It trolls you. It trolls you with a periscope. I'll show you right now. But the rear looks like the T-10. So here is the T-62A. There's a periscope in front of the cupola. The cupola is raised. It is a weak spot, but there's a periscope right in front of it, acting as space armor. So sometimes you jam a shot into the periscope, it knocks out the periscope, but saves your cupola. And the cupola is 214mm. So based on the current trend of Russian tanks with the Object 268 version number 4, with the 430U, the developers are going with 250mm for the cupola's armor, which is ridiculous. It's not even a weak spot. So for the 430U, I thought the cupola is a weak spot. It's 257 actually, not 250. Wonderful. And it's sloped backwards. Freaking ridiculous. So yeah, it could be like that, where if this vehicle has that strong of a cupola, it's not even a weakness. And the only weakness might be the lower plate, but yeah, this is basically Russian version of the 5A for the Russian tech tree. So, alright, here are the initial stats, yada yada, take a quick look. Here are the main stats. So it is a 130mm, but this thing cranks out more shots than the IS-7. It has better accuracy than the IS-7, better aim time as well. The same mobility, same horsepower per ton ratio about, and the same terrain resistance. Slightly lower top speed, but not as bad. But traverse is faster than the IS-7, not as much health. So let's take a quick look at the IS-7, just to compare. But yeah, the IS-7 has been artificially buffed because it never had 17 horsepower per turn ratio. That's not even possible. Unless you have like special version, but it has better accuracy, better aim time than the IS-7. Yeah, a lot better. 0.336 accuracy for 130 on a Russian tank? That's like German. That's pretty good, but health, 200 less. Yeah, better DPM. Better penetration for the shell as well. So what is also interesting is the gold shell is APCR. That's 350 millimeters. That's pretty good compared to the IS-7. The IS-7 has 303. You won't pen the Object 268 version number 4 with this penetration. You will struggle against Tigers with this penetration if they're sloped, or Mouses if they're turning their turret. But for this vehicle, you have 350. That's 50 more millimeters, about 50 more millimeters of pin for the gold shell. So I think it's better than the 5A as well, right? The 5A has 330 for the high explosive anti-tank, 340. But its high explosive anti-tank doesn't get the normalization as the APCR, but it doesn't lose the penetration over distance. So there are a few drawbacks, there are a few benefits, but this thing has better accuracy than the 5A. Yeah, 0.33 compared to 0.37, that's huge. And it has better dispersion, shooting on the move. Alright, better horsepower per turn ratio as well. Not as good terrain resistance, but counterbalance. The stuff, view range, the same. DPM 100 less, alright, but better penetration. Now, what is surprising and might be a big drawback for this vehicle is the shell price. That is a hefty shell price for the 130. Compared to the 5A, yeah, it's about 300 credits more. Yeah, it's about 300 credits more, so that's like what, 25% more per shell compared to the 5A? Let's compare to the IS-7. Yeah, IS-7 has the same shell price, so this thing pays about 300 credits more per shell. Yeah, this thing, if you miss, might be costly, so take your shots, but yeah, considering if we know the armor, if we know how much armor at the front exactly than the base 140, then this vehicle might be pretty good. So if the armor is about the same sloping as the 5A, then it should be about 250 millimeters effective for the upper plate. It's not like the IS-7. IS-7 has 150, but very well sloped and backwards with the peak, with the pike-shaped nose, with the beak at the front. So compared to this to the 5A, it's like the 5A, but it doesn't have the obvious pike-shaped nose, so it's rounded at the front. So yeah, 5A is about 260-ish, 250-ish at the front. So for this vehicle, I'm guessing about the same, so could be pretty good, but it has better accuracy than the 5A. And the 5A has gun depression, but would you take the accuracy? That's a big question. So it does rev up faster, but doesn't have as good terrain resistance. So in general, in summary, this is basically Russian version of a 5A. And 5A are pretty frequent for seal clubbers or whale clubbers. So yeah, it could be pretty good, but one big downside that I noticed, the shell price. But if you're using gold shell, fudge it. 350 millimeters of pin, whatever. So pretty interesting. Yeah. And here is the cream de la cream. Oh my god. So how do you pronounce this? This is basically Polish for tank. Let's see. Polish for tank. Yeah. Czolg. But yeah. I thought it was tier 10 when I first saw it. Based on the shape of the hull, based on the sloping. I thought it was tier 10. I thought it was tier 10 heavy tank for the top of the tree for the Polish. It's actually premium tier 8 heavy tank. This is 170 millimeters, I presume. That's 170? Are you kidding me? It's a pike-shaped hull as well, so if this is 170, that's still pretty hard to pin. That's sloped backwards and at a 45 degrees. Even the driver hatch, yeah, the driver hatch is a weak spot. If it's 170 sloped backwards at 45 degree angle, that's about root 2 times 170. That's 240 for a tier 8 millimeters effective. I mean, the lower plate is well sloped as well. So what the hell is the weak spot for this vehicle? The cupola? The cupola is a small target compared to the 252U. And they say power creep. Yeah, of course. I mean, this might be a weak spot, so no collision model, I cannot tell you, but Jesus, the potential for power creep on this vehicle is insane. I thought it was tier 10 when I first saw it. It's not, it's a tier 8. So here are the initial stats. First iteration, they actually changed it. So they buffed the aim time, nerfed the accuracy, what else did they buff? That's pretty much. They nerfed the dispersion, kept the gun depression, kept the traverse, kept the horsepower per ton ratio and the terrain resistance, nerfed the health a little bit, and that's about it. So they buffed the aim time, nerfed the accuracy mostly. So here is the final stats, or second iteration stats, but yeah, penetration is not bad for a heavy tank at tier 8, not bad. Gold shell pen is one of the big weak spot about this vehicle, 245. That is bad. That is alright for like casual players, but you're not penning high tier vehicles, especially more recent high tier vehicles like version number 4, Object 268, or like the 430U, not hitting the lower plate, but yeah. I mean, normally when you're playing a tier 8, when you're playing a premium tier 8 heavy tank, you think, whatever. But sometimes they could actually pack a punch, like the Luva, like the T-34, American heavy tank. Yeah, I don't have the speed in the T-34 or the Luva, but hell, they have 300 millimeters of pen with their gold shell, and they will punch through vehicles like the Type 5 and the Mouse at close range, so they're not scared. But for this vehicle, you only have 245, so you have to maneuver, you have to flank or circumvent large vehicles. So, I mean, in casual clan wars, where there are no tier 9s, no tier 10s, 245 is great. I mean, unless it faces itself or something, but Jesus, this is a tier 8 vehicle. Christ. I mean, horsepower per ton ratio is great for heavy. It's better than the 252U, I think. So, here is the famous comparison 252U with... it has better horsepower per ton ratio than the 252U. Alright? Same terrain resistance, so it revs up faster. So technically, it's faster. Has better traverse for the hull. Better hull traverse, better turret traverse. 10 degrees of gun depression. Better accuracy, better aim time. Better DPM. Not as much penetration, but hey, it's about like 6? 7. Alright, fine. Better view range by 30. That's huge. Yeah, the Object 252U is blind, but this thing has 330. Same alpha, same credits per shot, same health, about the same weight. So this thing is actually better at ramming because it has 170 for the hull front and 210 for the turret front. Now you might be able to penetrate the turret with 210, but it depends on the sloping. Yeah, the IS-7 has like 220, 230-ish millimeters at the front, but that's an egg shape. You're not penetrating the IS-7. So, yeah, is it time to call it power creep? Better dispersion as well. Yeah, better dispersion. The only downside is the gold shell. That's the only downside I could see. 245 compared to 265. Yeah. yeah, it's kind of rough. Shell velocity is actually faster by 7 meters per second. Yeah. I mean, in Clan Wars, when you're facing other heavy tanks of the Tier 8 maximum, Jesus Christ. Yeah. It might be a big weak spot. I don't know. There's no collision model. I might be overblowing it. But yeah, if this driver hatch is 170, that's about 240 millimeters effective. So unless this driver hatch is like 100 millimeter or less, it's not a weak spot. Hull shape front, you're not penetrating this upper plate. You're not. You're probably not penetrating this lower plate unless it's like 90 or below. Even so, I still doubt it. So, what's the weak spot? The cupola? It's a small target. It's a really small target. I mean, for the 252U, you get a strip. You get a strip of armor for the cupola where you can aim at, which is only 110. Oh, 150. But yeah, lower plate. Jesus Christ. Power creep? Might be. How do you kill this thing? Alright, so here is the new Tier 5 premium medium tank for the Russians. How many premium Russian medium tanks do we have? Like a lot. A bunch. 7 plus, 8 plus. But this version of the Russian medium tank called, I cannot pronounce this. I cannot pronounce that. So basically means shielded T-34. It's a T-34 with a bunch of applicant armor on the turret and on the hull side. It is not this version of the T-34 shielded, so it's not the bolted version to the hull front or to the hull turret front and the turret sides. I wish it is, so this is actually more armor, but it is this version with a bunch of space armor, so it looks like some of the cruiser tanks from the British. You can also call it a super T-34 if you want, based on the Pershing or the Conqueror, but it's a quota premium, so not bad. Is it good? Well, unless this thing has preferential matchmaking, which I doubt it. So this will see tier 7s. But it's not bad. It's alright. It's a casual premium tier 5. And we rarely see any more low tier premiums currently. It's mostly been premium tier 8s all the time. Like, starting with last year, we get the Defender, Chrysler, T92, Malware Breaker, AMX CDC, AMX CDA, Lorraine 40T, Samoa SM. It's all been tier 8. We never got any low tiers where you could get them from Tank Rewards, even though Tank Rewards has been MIA for a while. But yeah, low tier premiums, we don't really see them anymore. So that's good, but it's a T-34 with a bunch of applicant armor. Alright, so here are the main stats, but what is interesting about this vehicle is it's a BCR shell and it's a 76mm. So for the 76mm on a T-34, this DPM is actually pretty decent. It's a little bit slower than the regular T-34 by like 2 horsepower per turn ratio. Not as good accuracy, but faster aim time. Not as good view range, but I think I can show you the stats. T-34. There's a bunch. No, Russian. Yeah, how many T-34s do we have? And I can't even find the right one. T-34 76? Please, Jesus. That's a Chinese version. That's a Chinese. Oh, that's a Russian. Same color, greenish. So as you can see with the regular T-34 76, the 76mm, it's pretty good, but the DPM is not that great. So yeah, the only downside is the DPM, and the view range is kind of crappy, but it's a tier 5, So tier 5s with 100mm, 110mm of pen usually don't have that much DPM. So that goes for the same with the 76mm on the Sherman and the T-34 as well. But this gun is more like the German in terms of DPM, like the Panzer IV-H, because the Panzer IV-H has the actual DPM with the 75mm. Where the hell is the Panzer IV-H? Here it is. So for the Panzer IV-H, not using high explosive or derp gun, it's actually pretty decent for terms of DPM. So for the 75mm, whereas for the Sherman, it's not as great. So M4 Sherman, see, doesn't have as much DPM with the 76, even though it has the penetration. So yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it is a quota premium, so whatever. I mean, it's alright, but depends on the armor as well. So there is no frontal hull armor boost, so it's still 45 at the front. Side armor gets boosted, turret armor gets boosted, but I'm doubting it will be that much big of a effect for the vehicle to have applicate armor for the sides and front. Nah, I mean, it's more of a pseudo heavy, I guess, but new premiums will never have preferential matchmaking, so yeah. Also, it's a premium tier 5, and newer premium tier 5s medium tanks are not like the older version, like the Ram 2 or the Matildas. They don't have actually a chunk of health. So older versions of premium tier 5s like the Ram usually have about 600 health, 600, 650-ish, so it's alright. Here is the T26E3, the pre-production model of the Pershing. So it is basically a Pershing. So I took a look at the vehicle hull model. So take a quick look. Here is the Pershing, the pseudo Pershing, the pre-production Pershing. And here is my Pershing at tier 8 with my marker of excellence and stuff. So did you notice something? So here is the birthmark. Here is the tramp stamp. It's the same hull. I mean, this is aesthetic. This is not in the game shell damage bouncing. It's not. This is in the garage. The same layout, the same 4 spots, in the same location. So I thought, it's the same hull design. Alright. So I took a look at the stock turret. It's basically a stock Pershing. The turret front, the mantlet front, the same holes for the turret. It's a stock Pershing. God. I thought we're done with the crap like the Tiger 2H or the Yak Tiger H or the KV122 piece of crap. Guess we're not. I don't care anymore. This is the same fucking model. It's a stock Pershing at tier 7. Alright, here are the stats. So, not as good penetration, obviously. It's a 90mm. Accuracy is alright. Aim time's alright. Dispersion is actually pretty good. View range above average, but it's not as fast. So it's more of a Panther 2-esque of a mobility. So use this thing to scout, has 10 degrees of gun depression, and Pershing stock turret doesn't have that much armor. It's like 130-ish. It's not great. I mean, upgraded turret is pretty good, but yeah, upgraded turret could bounce a few shots, 260-ish sometimes, but stock turret, yeah, 110. I mean, unless you get the crevice, like the super bouncy sides, you're not. It's like 110 in the center. And for the sides, 130-ish. Yeah. Alright, this is a tier 7. I mean, armor is alright if you have the speed to negate some of the armor, but it's not like a Comet. It doesn't have speed. Only 12.69 horsepower per ton ratio. Yeah. What a load of crap. And here is the Sherman Firefly 1C convoluted. There's a typo. They call it the IC, like the STI, So it should be ST1, but whatever. But yeah, fun fact, Sherman 1C, that's a Firefly. You don't have to say the Firefly. You already just say Sherman Firefly. You don't have to say the 1C, just like double of saying the same term. But it's a Sherman Firefly as a premium. The same model that's in the game. It's the same model for the rear as well. That's a rear. That's the rear. The same dents in the counterweight for the back of the turret. But even the same tramp stamp for the engine deck. The same scratch marks. God. So here are the stats. It's a Sherman Firefly. The only difference is it has a better gun handling, better DPM, at the cost of engine power. So not as much horsepower per turn ratio, but you don't usually flank that much with the Sherman Firefly. So let's take a look at the Firefly. But I thought we're done with the crappy copy and paste stock vehicles as premium, but I guess we're not. So take a quick look at the accuracy at the horsepower per ton ratio, but it has better accuracy, better dispersion as well, at the cost of horsepower per ton ratio. That's it. Yeah. It has better top speed as well. Same terrain resistance, better DPM. Yep. Same shell price, same view range, same camo, same health, same armor, same everything, same gold shell. It's just basically better gun handling, better DPM at the cost of horsepower per ton ratio, which you don't really need in the Firefly because Fireflies are mostly about the gun, the 17-pounder. So yeah, that's it. Freaking filler tanks. That's basically it. So there you go, folks. There are no collision models that were leaked because of the scripts. So can I tell you how good the cupolas are? Can I tell you how good the Polish heavy tank is? But I think it's pretty good if it's all 170. So that's crazy. So if it follows the same trend with the Object 268 version number 4 with the 430U, then holy crap, it's like 250 millimeters for the cupola. 257 for the 430U. Jesus Christ. So who knows? Fucking Russian bias. And there's a lot of Russian tanks, so a lot of bias. But the K91 doesn't look too strong as a medium. It's more of a tank destroyer, tank hiding in a bush, sniping across the map. And you just saw how good that works out for the Grill 15 previous video. So corridor maps, more frequent, but yeah, we're getting more maps, and surprisingly we're getting more frequent patches. We just had 1.0 like 1 month and about 2 weeks ago, and today we got 1.0.1 with the return of Province, the newbie map, and the Italians, a whole new tech line with the auto reloader. Just 1 month after 1.0 with the HD maps rework. That's pretty quick when you think about it. So could we get more maps? Like 1 or 2 more maps per patch every month? That would be great. But the downside is you get crappy premiums. I don't know, but or OPS premiums, just super imbalanced. I don't know. But my money is on the 277 and the Polish heavy. So yeah, this ridiculous armor with aggro playstyle. And there's no like, if you make a mistake, you get punished. No, there's nothing of that. Artillery cannot punish you. It's all corridor maps, so they cannot punish you with the tank destroyers across like the fields. So it's all corridor maps, all brawling. And yeah, no. The T-34E is basically a quota premium for selling, obviously. And hopefully the Proto-Pershing and the Firefly will follow the same fate as the Tiger 2H and the Yak Tiger H. Stupid KV-122s. We don't need them. Dumb. I mean, unless you could pay like half the gold price compared to other premium tier 7s for the KV-122, yeah, maybe. but it's not. It's just a regular crappy KV-122, KV-85 at tier 7. So there you go, folks. Yeah, pretty terrible. I mean, the normal tanks usually feel about the same, whereas the other ones, give or take. I mean, the Polish one, obviously, Poland is one of the more player-based country for World of Tanks, and therefore, more people play it. Therefore, they have to cater to more people playing. Whereas if they release a premium tier 8 American, or like, I don't know, American or say UK or British tank, is just like whatever. Nobody cares about America. Nobody cares about England. Whatever, they can have whatever tank they want. Garbage. Persian. So there you go, folks. New tanks coming in patch 1.0.2, at least on the Super Test server. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.